Subscribe to Storylab. Now let's begin this one. Joel Warren had learned 3 things in 20 years of brutal hand-to-hand combat. Pain was temporary, fear was a choice, and violence solved problems that words couldn't. The third lesson made him dangerous. The first 2 made him unstoppable. He sat in his truck outside Mercy General Hospital, staring at his phone. The text from his ex-wife Charlotte had arrived 40 minutes ago. Nathan's in the ER. You need to come now. No details. No explanation. Just those 8 words that turned his blood cold. Joel was 43, built like a sledgehammer wrapped in leather, with gray threading through his dark hair and scars mapping his knuckles like a brutal geography lesson. He'd spent 8 years as the Marine Corps combative champion before an honorable discharge brought him back to civilian life. Now he worked as a construction foreman, building things instead of breaking them. Most days, that was enough. He pushed through the hospital's automatic doors, his boots clicking against linoleum as he navigated toward the emergency wing. A nurse tried to stop him, but something in his eyes made her step aside. He'd worn that expression in Fallujah, in training rings, in places where hesitation meant death. Charlotte stood outside a treatment room, her mascara smeared, her new last name, Preston, still strange to Joel's ears even 3 years after the divorce. She'd been Charlotte Warren once. She'd promised him forever once. That was before she decided a construction foreman's paycheck wasn't enough, before she met someone who could give her the life she wanted. Joel! Her voice cracked. It's bad. What happened? She couldn't meet his eyes. Brandon and Nathan had a disagreement. Joel's jaw tightened. Brandon Chambers, the UFC fighter, Charlotte's new husband, the man who'd moved into Joel's old house, who slept in Joel's old bed, who played stepfather to Joel's 14-year-old son. What kind of disagreement? Nathan was being disrespectful. Brandon tried to discipline him, and things got out of hand. What happened? The door opened, and Dr. Minnie Duncan emerged, her surgical scrubs still spotted with blood. Joel's blood. Nathan's blood. Mr. Warren? I'm Dr. Duncan. Your son is stable, but he's suffered severe facial trauma. 37 fractures across his orbital bones, cheekbones, nose, and jaw. The weapon was a hammer. Joel's world narrowed to a pinpoint. A hammer. We've scheduled reconstructive surgery for tomorrow morning. He'll need multiple procedures over the next year. Right now, he's sedated. You can see him, but prepare yourself. The room spun. Joel had seen carnage before. IEDs, firefights, training accidents that ended careers. But nothing prepared a father for seeing his son's face destroyed. Nathan lay motionless, his head wrapped in bandages, tubes running from his arms, machines beeping steadily. What Joel could see of his face was swollen beyond recognition, purple and black, shaped wrong. He disrespected me. That's what Charlotte said Brandon told her. Disrespect. The word rattled in Joel's skull like a bullet casing. He stood there for 2 minutes, memorizing every visible injury, every tube, every beep. Then he walked out without a word. Charlotte tried to follow him. Joel, wait. He spun on her so fast she stumbled backward. Where is he? Brandon? He's at the gym. Joel, please don't. Did you call the police? Her silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. Joel headed for the exit. He didn't mean for it to go that far. Charlotte called after him. Nathan pushed him. He was defending himself. Joel stopped, turned slowly. Your husband put a hammer to our son's face. 37 times he swung. That's not defense, Charlotte. That's what I used to do to enemy combatants who needed information. Brandon's a fighter. He's trained. If you go after him, then maybe he'll remember what real fighting looks like. Joel drove to his apartment in silence, his mind calculating, processing, planning. He'd learned patience in the Marines, learned to recon a target before engaging, learned to identify weaknesses and exploit them. Brandon Chambers thought he was untouchable because he was 18-0 in the UFC, because he'd beaten everyone they'd put in front of him, because he was young and fast and brutal in the cage. But the cage had rules. The street didn't. Joel's apartment was sparse. A 1-bedroom above a hardware store, furnished with a couch, a TV, and memories. He kept his life simple after the divorce. Most of his money went to Nathan's college fund. The rest paid for rent and food and the occasional drink at O'Malley's bar down the street. He opened his closet and pulled out a locked case from top shelf. Inside were his Marine Corps dress uniform, his medals, and a leather journal filled with techniques he'd learned in combatives training. He'd been undefeated for 8 years because he studied his opponents, learned their patterns, found their weaknesses. Brandon Chambers was just another opponent. His phone buzzed. A text from his friend Kurt Irwin, a detective with the Metro Police, heard about Nathan. "I'm sorry, brother. Let me know if you need anything." Joel typed back, "Thanks." Question: if someone put a hammer to a kid's face 37 times, what's the charge? 3 dots appeared. Aggravated assault minimum. Attempted murder likely. With a minor victim? 15 to 25 years easy. Why hasn't Charlotte pressed charges? Good question. Joel, don't do anything stupid. Joel didn't respond. He spent the next hour on his laptop, researching Brandon Chambers. The fighter was 28, a welterweight with a record of 18 wins, 0 losses. He'd won his last 3 fights by knockout in the first round. His social media was full of training videos, promotional photos, and posts about destroying his next opponent. His Instagram showed him at expensive restaurants, wearing designer clothes, driving Charlotte's Mercedes. Joel's child support money, no doubt. There was a video from 2 weeks ago. Brandon in the gym, working the heavy bag, the camera shaking from the impact of his strikes. In the caption, "Violence is my art. Pain is my canvas. Hashtag UFC champion, hashtag undefeated, hashtag touch me." Joel watched it 3 times, studying Brandon's stance, his footwork, his combinations. The fighter was good, fast hands, heavy hitter, confident. But confidence was just arrogance that hadn't been tested yet. Another text from Charlotte. "Joel, please call me. We need to talk about this rationally." He deleted it. By midnight, Joel had a plan. But first, he needed to see his son one more time. The ICU was quieter at night. Dr. Duncan had left for the evening, replaced by a night nurse who barely looked up as Joel signed in. Nathan's room was dark except for the glow of monitors. Joel sat in the chair beside the bed and took his son's hand carefully, avoiding the 4. "Hey, buddy," he whispered. "It's Dad." Nathan didn't respond. The machines beeped steadily. "They're gonna fix you up. Dr. Duncan said you'll be good as new. Might take some time, but you're tough. You're a Warren." Joel's throat tightened. He'd missed too much of Nathan's life after the divorce. Charlotte had pushed for full custody, and Joel, trying to be reasonable, trying to make the transition easier for Nathan, had agreed to every other weekend and Wednesday dinners. He'd watched his son grow up in increments, catching glimpses of the man he was becoming without being there for the full transformation. "I should have fought harder," Joel said quietly. "For you. For custody. I thought I was doing the right thing, letting you have stability with your mom. But I should have seen this coming. Should have known something was wrong." He had seen signs. Nathan had grown quieter over the past 6 months, more withdrawn during their weekends together. Joel had attributed it to teenage angst, to the natural growing pains of adolescence. He'd been wrong. "I'm going to fix this," Joel said. "Not the legal way. Not the slow way. I'm going to make sure he never touches you again. Never touches anyone again." A nurse entered to check Nathan's vitals. Joel recognized her, Joy Blackburn, a veteran nurse who'd been at Mercy General for 20 years. She'd treated Joel once after a construction accident left him with a broken hand. "Mr. Warren," she said gently, "how are you holding up?" "I've been better." She checked the monitors, made notes on a tablet. "Nathan's a fighter. He'll pull through. Did you see the x-rays?" Joy's expression darkened. "I did. I've been a trauma nurse for 2 decades. I've seen car accidents, industrial incidents, assault cases. But this..." She shook her head. "This was methodical. Whoever did this took their time. His stepfather, UFC fighter, guy named Brandon Chambers. The police should be involved." "Yeah, they should be." Joy studied him carefully. "I have a son too. He's 25 now. If someone did to him what was done to Nathan..." She left the sentence unfinished. "I'm not supposed to say this, but I hope whoever's responsible gets exactly what's coming to them." After Joy left, Joel sat in silence for another hour. He thought about his own father, Herman Warren, a Vietnam veteran who'd taught Joel that some men only understood one language. Herman had died when Joel was 21, right before he enlisted. His last words to Joel were, "Protect what's yours." The world doesn't give medals for being reasonable. At 2 in the morning, Joel left the hospital and drove to Brandon's gym. Viper's Den MMA sat in a strip mall between a protein supplement store and a tanning salon. The lights were off, the parking lot empty. Joel sat in his truck and watched, studying the layout, the exits, the security cameras. He returned at dawn, watching as the gym came to life. The owner arrived first, a thick-necked man Joel recognized from the gym's website as Cliff Fritz, a former heavyweight contender who'd opened Viper's Den after retiring. Then came the early morning warriors, lawyers and accountants and businessmen getting their workout in before heading to offices. Brandon's Porsche pulled in at 7:30, the license plate reading Fighter 1. Subtle. Joel waited. He knew Brandon's schedule from Instagram. Morning training from 8 to 10, lunch, afternoon clients, evening classes. The fighter had posted yesterday, "Morning grind never stops. Champions are built before breakfast. Hashtag dedication, hashtag no excuses." This was posted 6 hours after he'd put a hammer to Nathan's face. Joel's phone rang. "Charlotte." "Joel, please tell me you haven't done anything stupid." "I haven't done anything." The hospital asked about filing a police report. "I told them it was an accident." "An accident." Nathan fell, hit his face on the corner of a table. "That's the story." Joel closed his eyes. "You're protecting him. I'm protecting all of us. If Brandon goes to prison, I lose everything. The house, the lifestyle, the stability. Nathan needs that stability to recover. Nathan needs a father who doesn't beat him with hammers. It won't happen again. Brandon promised. He feels terrible about it. He feels terrible." Joel laughed, a cold sound. "Charlotte, do you hear yourself? Your husband fractured our son's face in 37 places. That's not discipline gone wrong. That's attempted murder. You don't understand the pressure Brandon's under. He has a title fight coming up. The stress." Joel hung up. He couldn't listen to more excuses, more justifications, more reasons why a professional fighter beating a 14-year-old boy with a hammer was somehow understandable. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Kurt. "Joel, we need to talk. I'm hearing things. Don't make me arrest you." Joel typed back, "All good. Just visiting Nathan." 3 dots. Then, "Bullshit. I know you. Whatever you're planning, think about Nathan. He needs his father around." "That's exactly what I'm thinking about." Joel pocketed his phone and got out of his truck. He walked to a coffee shop across from the gym, ordered a black coffee, and sat by the window. He could see the entrance clearly from here. Over the next 2 hours, he watched Brandon come and go, watched clients arrive for training, watched the rhythm of the gym. He memorized faces, noted patterns, built a mental map of the place. At 10:15, Brandon emerged, laughing with a training partner. He wore designer workout clothes, expensive headphones, an Apple Watch that probably cost more than Joel's monthly rent. He looked like a man without a care in the world. A man who hadn't destroyed a child's face the day before. Joel's grip on his coffee cup tightened until the cardboard buckled. "Easy there, killer." The voice came from behind him. Joel turned to find a woman in her 40s, coffee in hand, looking at his white knuckles with concern. "Whatever that cup did to you, I think it's sorry." Joel released his grip, offered a tight smile. "Long day." "I hear that." She sat down at the next table. "I'm Maureen Myers. I work at the legal aid office down the street. You look like you could use someone to talk to." "I'm good. Thanks. No offense, but you don't look good. You look like someone who's about to make a bad decision." Joel studied her. Maureen had kind eyes, the sort of face that had seen trouble and learned to recognize it in others. "What makes you think that?" "I've been a public defender for 15 years. I know the look. Someone wronged you, and you're deciding whether to handle it the legal way or the other way. And if I'm leaning toward the other way, then I'd remind you that prison food is terrible, and vengeance feels good for about 5 minutes before the consequences set in." She pulled out a business card. "But I'd also say that I understand. Sometimes the legal system fails people. Sometimes justice takes too long. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to step outside the lines." Joel took the card. "You're not a very good public defender. I'm an excellent public defender. I'm also a realist." She stood, finished her coffee. Whatever you decide, be smart about it. Don't let emotion make you sloppy. After she left, Joel sat for another 20 minutes. Maureen was right. Emotion made people sloppy. Joel had seen it in combat, in training, in fights. The moment someone got angry, they got predictable. He couldn't afford to be predictable. At noon, he drove to his construction site. His crew was already working, and his foreman, a burly man named Oscar Skinner, waved him over. "Boss, you look like hell. My son's in the hospital. Facial reconstruction surgery." Oscar's expression darkened. Jesus. What happened? His stepfather happened. Brandon Chambers? The fighter? Oscar had met Nathan a few times at company picnics. That piece of shit. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Yes, you do. Oscar lowered his voice. I saw you fight in that exhibition match 2 years ago. I saw what you did to that guy who outweighed you by 40 pounds. If you need an alibi, you've got one. You were with me all day. We were working late on the Riverside project. Joel met his friend's eyes. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Nathan's a good kid. What happened to him? Oscar shook his head. That's not right. Someone needs to answer for it. The legal system. The legal system lets guys like Chambers walk because they have money and lawyers. You know it. I know it. So if the system won't handle it, maybe someone else should. Joel spent the rest of the day at the construction site, working with his hands, letting the physical labor clear his mind. By the time he left at 6, he'd made his decision. He stopped at a sporting goods store and bought hand wraps, the good kind, the kind that protected knuckles during extended beatings. Then he drove to O'Malley's bar and had one beer, just one, to settle his nerves. The bartender, Noel LeBlanc, had known Joel for years. Heard about Nathan, Noel said, sliding the beer across the bar. That's rough, man. Yeah. You doing okay? I will be. Noel wiped down the bar, his expression thoughtful. I had a cousin who got beat up by his stepdad when he was a kid. Broken ribs, black eyes, the whole thing. My uncle, my cousin's real dad, he tried to do it the right way. Went to the cops, filed reports, got lawyers involved. The system dragged it out for 2 years. By the time they finally got a conviction, the stepdad got probation. Probation. My cousin never recovered from it. He's 30 now, still in therapy, still dealing with the trauma. What's your point? My point is that sometimes the right way isn't the effective way. Sometimes you have to be the solution. Noel met Joel's eyes. I'm not saying you should do anything illegal. I'm just saying I understand if you do. Joel finished his beer and left a 20 on the bar. Thanks, Noel. Good luck, brother. Whatever you're planning. At 8 that evening, Joel returned to Nathan's hospital room. The boy was awake this time, groggy from pain medication, his eyes barely visible through the swelling. Dad! Nathan's voice was muffled, distorted by his injuries. I'm here, buddy. Right here. It hurts. I know. They're going to fix you tomorrow. You're going to be okay. Nathan tried to speak, struggled with the words. Brandon, he said I was disrespecting him. I just asked if I could have dinner with you on Wednesday. He got so angry. Joel's jaw clenched. What happened? He grabbed me, started yelling. I pushed him away, told him he wasn't my dad. That's when Nathan's voice broke. He went to the garage, came back with a hammer. I tried to run, but he caught me. He kept saying, you need to learn respect. You need to learn your place. How many times did he hit you? I don't know. I stopped counting after 10. I thought he was going to kill me. Where was your mother? She was at yoga. She came home and found me. She was screaming at Brandon, but he just kept saying I'd brought it on myself, that I'd disrespected him in his own house. Joel took Nathan's hand carefully. Listen to me. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. What happened to you isn't your fault. Mom said we can't tell the police. She said it would ruin everything. Your mom is wrong. But what if? No what ifs. Brandon hurt you. He needs to pay for that. Joel squeezed his son's hand gently. I'm going to make sure he pays for that. Nathan's eyes widened as much as the swelling allowed. Dad, don't do anything stupid. Brandon's dangerous. He'll hurt you too. Brandon's a cage fighter. I'm a Marine. There's a difference. But get some sleep, buddy. Tomorrow's surgery day. I'll be here when you wake up. After Nathan drifted off, Joel left the hospital and drove back to Vipers Denver. It was nearly 10 at night. The parking lot was empty except for Brandon's Porsche and Cliff's truck. The lights were still on inside. Joel parked across the street and waited. 40 minutes later, Cliff emerged, locked the door, and drove away. Brandon's Porsche sat alone. Joel checked his watch. 10:47 p.m. He pulled on his hand wraps, flexing his fingers, feeling the familiar tension of fabric against skin. In the Marines, they'd taught him that preparation was 90% of victory. The other 10% was execution. He got out of his truck and walked across the parking lot. The gym's windows were covered with promotional posters. Brandon's face, mid-punch, with text reading "The Viper, undefeated and unstoppable." Joel studied the poster for a moment, memorizing the arrogance in Brandon's expression. Then he waited. At 11:12, the gym door opened. Brandon emerged, gym bag slung over his shoulder, phone pressed to his ear. He was laughing about something, his voice carrying across the empty parking lot. "Nah, man, the kid had it coming. You should have seen him, all indignant and shit. You're not my dad. Like I give a fuck." More laughter. "Charlotte's freaking out, but she'll get over it. Women always do." Brandon reached his Porsche, still on the phone. He popped the trunk, tossed his gym bag inside. Joel stepped out of the shadows. "Brandon Chambers?" The fighter spun, hand dropping to his side instinctively, fighter's stance taking over. When he saw Joel, his expression shifted from alert to annoyed. "Who the fuck are you?" "Joel Warren, Nathan's father." Brandon's eyes narrowed, then recognition dawned. A smile spread across his face. "Oh shit, you're Charlotte's ex, the construction worker." He laughed. "Man, she warned me you might show up. Said you were some tough guy Marine, or whatever. Or whatever. Look, your kid got mouthy. I disciplined him. That's what happens in my house. You don't like it, take it up with Charlotte. I'd rather take it up with you." Brandon sized Joel up, taking in the hand wraps, the stance, the cold fury in Joel's eyes. "You serious right now? You want to throw down? I want you to understand what you did. What I did was teach your brat some respect. Something you clearly failed at." Brandon tossed his phone into his car. "But hey, if you want a lesson too, I'm happy to provide. Free of charge." "That's generous." Brandon grinned, cracking his knuckles. "I'm 18 and 0, old man. I've put down professional fighters. What makes you think you could do anything to me?" "Because they followed rules." Joel moved. 20 years of combatives training condensed into one explosive moment. He closed the distance faster than Brandon expected, slipping inside the fighter's guard before Brandon could throw. Joel's first strike was a palm heel to Brandon's solar plexus, driving the air from his lungs. While Brandon gasped, Joel stepped behind him, wrapped his arm around Brandon's throat, and squeezed. Brandon thrashed, trained instincts taking over. He tried to peel Joel's arm away, tried to drop his weight, tried everything they'd taught him in jiu-jitsu. But Joel had learned these techniques from men who used them to kill, not to win trophies. He maintained pressure, cutting off blood flow to Brandon's brain. 15 seconds. Brandon's struggles weakened. 20 seconds. His movements became sluggish. 25 seconds. He went limp. Joel released him, letting Brandon collapse to the pavement. The fighter coughed, gasping for air, his face red. Before he could recover, Joel grabbed his right hand and stomped on the wrist, hyperextending the joint. Brandon screamed. "That's one," Joel said calmly. He stomped on Brandon's left wrist. Another scream. "That's two." Brandon tried to scramble away, but Joel was already on him. He dragged the fighter to his feet and drove a knee into his ribs, feeling them crack. Brandon doubled over, and Joel delivered an elbow to the back of his head, dropping him again. "How many times did you hit my son?" Joel's voice was ice. 37. 37 fractures. Brandon lay on the ground, groaning, trying to curl into a protective ball. Joel stood over him, methodical, precise. This wasn't about anger anymore. This was about mathematics. About balance. About making sure Brandon understood the cost of what he'd done. Joel grabbed Brandon's left leg and twisted, applying pressure to the knee joint. Brandon howled. "You used a hammer," Joel said, "because you knew you needed a weapon to do that much damage to a child. You're not a fighter. You're a coward." He released the leg and kicked Brandon in the ribs again. Then again. Each strike measured, controlled, designed to cause maximum pain without killing. Brandon tried to cover up, but his broken wrists made it impossible. "Please," Brandon gasped. "Please stop." "Did Nathan say please?" Joel crouched beside the fighter. "Did he beg you to stop while you were beating him?" "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "No, you're not. But you will be." Joel stood and delivered one final kick to Brandon's face, feeling teeth break beneath his boot. Brandon went still, unconscious, blood pooling on the pavement. Joel pulled out his phone and dialed 911. "I need an ambulance at Viper's Den MMA. Man down. Facial injuries." He hung up before they could ask questions. He looked at Brandon one last time. The fighter's face was destroyed, nose shattered, orbital bones crushed, jaw broken. 37 fractures. Maybe more. Poetic justice. Joel walked back to his truck and drove away. 3 blocks later, he pulled over and called Kurt. "Joel, I need to tell you something." A pause. "Where are you?" "Heading home." "Listen, I was at the hospital with Nathan all night. Oscar Skinner can confirm I was with him at the construction site all day today. Noel at O'Malley's saw me earlier this evening." "Joel, Brandon Chambers assaulted my son with a hammer. 37 fractures. Charlotte refuses to press charges. The system failed Nathan. Someone had to do something." Another pause. "Did you do something?" "Hypothetically, if someone beat Brandon Chambers nearly to death in the parking lot of his gym, would that someone face murder charges if Brandon dies?" "Jesus Christ, Joel. Answer the question." "Depends on intent. If someone intended to kill him, that's attempted murder or murder. If someone intended to hurt him, to make him understand what he did, and things went too far, that's aggravated assault. Maybe manslaughter if he dies. With a good lawyer, self-defense could play. Brandon's a professional fighter. Any reasonable person would fear for their life in a confrontation, even if that person sought out the confrontation." "Joel, I can't be having this conversation." "I understand." "Thanks, Kurt." "Wait." Joel hung up and removed the battery from his phone. He drove home in silence, his knuckles throbbing beneath the hand wraps. When he got to his apartment, he burned the hand wraps in the kitchen sink, flushing the ashes down the toilet. Then he showered, washing away any trace evidence, watching the water circle the drain. His hands shook as he dried off, not from fear, from adrenaline crash, from the weight of what he'd done. He'd ended men before, in combat, in defense of his country. But this was different. This was personal. This was a choice. He thought about Nathan in that hospital bed, face destroyed, asking his father not to do anything stupid. Joel lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the knock on the door that might never come. Joel woke at 5:30 to his phone buzzing. He'd replaced the battery during the night. The screen showed 3 missed calls from Charlotte and 7 from various news outlets. He ignored them all and drove to the hospital. Nathan was already in pre-op, groggy from the sedatives. Joel held his hand while Dr. Duncan explained the procedure. Titanium plates to reconstruct the orbital bones, pins to stabilize the jaw, grafts to repair the shattered cheekbone. "He'll be in surgery for 8 to 10 hours, Dr. Duncan said. "We'll do our best. I know you will." After they wheeled Nathan away, Joel sat in the waiting room and finally checked his phone. The news headlines were everywhere. UFC fighter Brandon Chambers in critical condition after brutal assault. The Viper, hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. Police search for suspect in attack on welterweight contender. Joel opened the article. Brandon had been found by paramedics at 11:47 p.m., unconscious in the parking lot of Viper's Den MMA. His injuries included shattered orbital bones, broken nose, fractured jaw, 3 broken ribs, 2 broken wrists, damage to his left knee, and 33 broken or missing teeth. He was in a medically induced coma at Mercy General, the same hospital where Nathan was being operated on. "Different hospital would have been better," Joel muttered. His phone rang. "Charlotte, you son of a bitch. Charlotte, don't play stupid. I know it was you. The police know it was you. Brandon's in a coma because of you." "Is he? That's unfortunate. You're going to prison. I'm going to make sure you go to prison." "For what?" "I was with my son all night. Check the visitor logs. You left at 11. Brandon was attacked at 11:15. Plenty of time to drive home, which I did. Oscar Skinner saw me at midnight. We had a beer, talked about the Riverside Project. You're lying. Prove it. Charlotte was crying now, her voice breaking. Brandon could die. Do you understand that? He could die, and it would be your fault. Nathan almost died, but that didn't seem to bother you much. That was different. Ow! Brandon didn't mean to hurt Nathan that badly. It was an accident. 37 fractures isn't an accident, Charlotte. It's attempted murder, and you let him get away with it. So someone else had to deliver justice. It wasn't your place. I'm his father. It's exactly my place. Joel hung up. 2 minutes later, Kurt arrived. We need to talk. They went to the cafeteria, found a quiet corner. Kurt looked exhausted, the sort of tired that came from working all night. I've been up since midnight, Kurt said. Got called to the scene. Brandon Chambers, beaten nearly to death. My partner immediately said, check the ex-husband. So I did. And you were at the hospital from 9 to 11 p.m. Multiple witnesses confirmed that, including nurses and the security guard. After that, your timeline gets fuzzy. I went home. Anyone see you? Not until midnight when Oscar stopped by. Convenient timing. Oscar likes to check in. He's a good friend. Kurt leaned forward. Joel, I'm going to tell you something off the record. If this conversation ever comes up in court, I'll deny it. Understood. Understood. Brandon Chambers is a piece of shit. I responded to 3 domestic calls at his previous address before he moved in with Charlotte. 2 different girlfriends. Both cases mysteriously dropped when they got paid off. The guy has a history of violence against women and anyone else he perceives as weak. Sounds like a stand-up citizen. My point is, I get it. I understand why someone would want to hurt him. Hell, I understand why someone would want to kill him. But you need to understand that we have an investigation. We have witnesses placing a truck matching your truck's description in the area. We have motive. We have opportunity. Do you have evidence? Kurt shook his head. Not yet. No cameras caught the assault. No witnesses saw it happen. The parking lot was empty. Whoever did this was smart about it. Then I guess you've got nothing. If Brandon wakes up, he'll lie. He'll say he doesn't know who attacked him because admitting a 43-year-old construction worker beat him senseless would destroy his career. Kurt studied Joel for a long moment. You're probably right. He stood, finished his coffee. For what it's worth, I hope they don't find whoever did this. Brandon Chambers deserved what he got. Careful, detective. That sounds like you're condoning vigilante justice. I'm condoning a father protecting his son. There's a difference. Kurt walked away, leaving Joel alone with his coffee. Nathan's surgery lasted 9 hours. Dr. Duncan emerged looking exhausted but satisfied. The surgery went well. We were able to reconstruct most of the damage. He'll need follow-up procedures, but the prognosis is good. When can I see him? He'll be in recovery for another hour. But Mr. Warren, there's something you should know. Nathan told one of the nurses what happened. How Brandon attacked him. The nurse reported it to social services. They're opening an investigation. Joel's heart lightened for the first time in 48 hours. That's good. It gets better. Brandon's gym partner came forward. Guy named Roberto Sharp. He told police that Brandon bragged about beating Nathan. Said Brandon showed him photos of Nathan's injuries and laughed about it. Roberto was disgusted but didn't know what to do. When he heard about Brandon's attack, he decided to come forward. Will that be enough? Combined with Nathan's testimony and the hospital records? Yes. Even if Brandon survives, he's facing serious charges. Joel let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Justice. Real justice. Maybe the legal system hadn't completely failed after all. When Nathan woke up in recovery, his face was bandaged, but his eyes were clearer than they'd been in days. Dad, right here, buddy. They said the surgery went well. It did. You're going to be okay. Nathan's eyes welled with tears. I heard the nurses talking. They said Brandon was attacked. Did you? I visited him to talk. Man to man. We had a disagreement. Dad, sometimes the world needs people who are willing to step outside the lines to protect what matters. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's legal. But I'm saying I'd do it again in a heartbeat if it meant keeping you safe. Nathan was quiet for a moment. What's going to happen to you? I don't know yet. But whatever happens, it was worth it. I don't want you to go to prison because of me. I won't. I was careful. I was smart. And even if I wasn't, I'd rather be in prison knowing you're safe than free knowing you're in danger. Over the next week, the case against Brandon Chambers built rapidly. Roberto Sharp's testimony opened the floodgates. Two of Brandon's ex-girlfriends came forward with their own stories of abuse. Charlotte, faced with mounting evidence, finally admitted to police that Brandon had attacked Nathan with a hammer. She filed for divorce the same day. Brandon woke from his coma on day 6. His face, like Nathan's, would require multiple reconstructive surgeries. His fighting career was over. The damage to his orbital bones meant he'd never be medically cleared to compete again. When police questioned him about his attack, he claimed not to remember anything, exactly as Joel predicted. But Roberto's testimony, combined with Charlotte's statement and Nathan's account, was enough. The DA charged Brandon with aggravated assault of a minor, child endangerment, and attempted murder. Bail was set at $2 million. As for Joel's involvement in Brandon's beating, the investigation stalled. Without witnesses, without physical evidence, without Brandon's cooperation, the police had nothing but suspicion. Kurt told Joel the case would likely go cold. "You got lucky," Kurt said over drinks at O'Malley's 2 weeks after the incident. "I didn't do anything." "Sure you didn't. But hypothetically, if you had, you should know that Brandon's coach, Cliff Fritz, said something interesting. He said when he left the gym that night, he saw a truck parked across the street. He didn't think much of it at the time, but he's pretty sure it was yours. Pretty sure isn't evidence. No, it's not. Which is why I accidentally lost that particular interview recording. Mishap with a digital file. Happens sometimes." Joel raised his glass. "You're a good friend, Kurt. I'm a guy who believes in justice. Real justice. The kind that makes sure a child beater never hurts anyone again." Kurt clinked his glass against Joel's. Hypothetically, Nathan was released from the hospital 3 weeks after the attack. His face was still bandaged, but the swelling had gone down. He'd need more surgeries, more recovery time, but Dr. Duncan was optimistic. Charlotte showed up at Joel's apartment the day Nathan was discharged. "I owe you an apology," she said, standing in the doorway. She looked 10 years older than she had a month ago, the weight of her choices visible in her eyes. "You owe Nathan an apology." "I already apologized to him. Multiple times. But I wanted to tell you, you were right. About everything. I should have protected Nathan. I should have called the police. I should have never married Brandon." "Why did you?" Charlotte looked away. "Because I was tired of struggling. Because I wanted security. Because I thought money and status would make me happy. I was wrong. Nathan deserves better than that. I know. That's why I'm withdrawing my custody petition. I want you to have full custody. Nathan should be with you." Joel was silent for a moment, processing. "You mean that?" "I do. I failed him. You didn't. He needs his father." Nathan appeared behind Joel, his face still heavily bandaged. "Mom." Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. "Hey, baby. How are you feeling?" "Better. The pain meds help." "Nathan, I'm so sorry. For everything. For not protecting you. For choosing Brandon over you. For being a terrible mother." "You're not terrible, Mom. You just made mistakes. Big mistakes." Charlotte wiped her eyes. "I'm going to make things right. I'm testifying against Brandon. I'm going to make sure he goes to prison for what he did to you." The trial happened 4 months later. Charlotte testified, her voice steady as she described finding Nathan beaten and bloody, as she recounted Brandon's exact words. "He disrespected me. He needed to learn his place." Roberto Sharp testified about Brandon's bragging, about how the fighter had shown him photos of Nathan's injuries like trophies. Dr. Duncan testified about the severity of Nathan's injuries, explaining in clinical detail how much force was required to cause 37 fractures with a hammer. Nathan testified last. He was 15 now, his face mostly healed but bearing the scars of reconstructive surgery. He would carry those scars for life. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Brandon Chambers was sentenced to 25 years in prison without possibility of parole for 15 years. His fighting career was over. His reputation was destroyed. His face, like Nathan's, would never be the same. Joel sat in the courtroom and watched as they led Brandon away in handcuffs. The fighter looked broken, diminished. Nothing like the arrogant man who'd posted photos of his victories on social media. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Joel declined to comment, but Nathan spoke briefly. I want other kids to know that if someone's hurting you, tell someone. Don't wait. Don't protect your abuser. Tell someone who can help. The reporters turned to Joel. Mr. Warren, there were allegations that you assaulted Brandon Chambers before his arrest. Any comment? I was with my son at the hospital the night of Brandon's attack. I have alibis for my whereabouts. The police investigated and found no evidence connecting me to that incident. But do you feel? Joel cut them off. What I feel is grateful that my son survived. Grateful that the justice system worked. And grateful that Brandon Chambers will never hurt another child. He took Nathan's hand, and they walked away from the cameras. 6 months later, Joel and Nathan moved into a house together. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, room for Nathan to heal and grow. Charlotte helped with the down payment as part of her restitution. She'd started therapy, started rebuilding her life, started trying to be the mother Nathan deserved. Nathan's final reconstructive surgery was scheduled for the following month. After that, no more hospitals, no more pain meds, no more reminders of the worst day of his life. One evening, as they sat on the back porch watching the sunset, Nathan turned to his father. Can I ask you something? Anything. Did you really beat up Brandon? Joel was quiet for a long moment. What do you think? I think you did. I think you waited for him at his gym. I think you hurt him the same way he hurt me. And if I did, Nathan considered this, then I think you did what you had to do. I don't think it was right, but I understand why you did it. The right thing and the necessary thing aren't always the same. Do you regret it? Joel looked at his son, scarred but healing, traumatized but strong, broken but rebuilding. No, I don't regret protecting you. I'll never regret that. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Dad, yeah, thanks for being there. Thanks for not letting him get away with it. Joel put his arm around Nathan's shoulders, careful not to press too hard on the still healing bones. That's what fathers do, buddy. We protect what's ours, no matter what it costs. The sky darkened, stars emerging one by one, and Joel Warren, Marine, father, warrior, felt at peace. He'd crossed lines that most men never crossed. He'd done things that would haunt him on quiet nights. But his son was safe. His son was healing. His son would grow up knowing that his father would walk through fire for him. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The law had its justice. Joel had his own. Sometimes, the two weren't the same. Sometimes, a father had to be both protector and avenger, both shield and sword. Joel Warren had been both. And he'd do it again without hesitation. Because some things, some people, were worth any cost. Even 37 fractures worth.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen